Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking a little bit about the primaries, because that's what everybody's talking about. I started that one off really low, but now I'm getting hot again because, for crying out loud, we don't have to deal with now. Those are too early too. Don't get me started on the caucuses, but we don't have the Iowa caucuses in January of 2016. We just had the 4th of July weekend, for crying out loud. This is too early, but because that's what there is to talk about, and because that's what's going on and being reported, we are commenters on news and current events and all things lovely in that area. We're going to discuss some of the crazy shenanigans that these candidates are getting up to. Number one, first and foremost, the guy who was polling second behind the pack of your Jeb Bush, your Rubio, and your Scott Walker, that would be the Donald himself, Donald Trump, who announced for president a few weeks ago. Now, Patrick, I mean, on one hand, everybody thinks that this guy is a joke. Everybody does. On the other hand, he's getting a lot of people fired up. So, yeah. What do you make of this so far?
Well, there's a difference between this campaign and his other campaigns. His other campaigns, he goes out there, he rattles the saber, he says what he wants, and then he disappears. This one, he actually has a campaign people together. He's actually gone to his friends that are multi-billionaires and said, I'm running, I would like your support, and some of them have gotten on board. The other thing is his social media is really much better than the other candidates. He must have hired somebody from somewhere because he's getting his word and his message out. The last thing is he gets up there and says almost identical to what things that people have said on the Democratic side for years. You know, you have to, now he didn't say it, he said it in a way that was offensive, but he said basically this: you can't just have an open border. That destroys our economy. You have to have immigration. You have to have laws. You know, we want to help these people. We want to help them through the process. Maybe we need to change the process. That's what you hear from the left. You know, Hillary Clinton got up there, gave a speech in 2004.
Now, that's not what Donald Trump said about immigration.
That is not.
Say what Donald Trump actually said about immigration, and then compare it to what the left says about immigration, because it's not the same.
Well, he was offensive about it. I can't remember the exact quote. I'm sure you have it there.
I wasn't going to read it, but I remember most of it.
Yeah.
To paraphrase, they're bringing these, when Mexico sends its people, it's not sending its best and its brightest. It's sending people with lots of problems, and they're bringing them with us. That's a direct quote. So they're sending drug dealers and rapists and murderers and criminals, and some of them, I assume, are good people. That's what he said.
Yeah, and that's pretty offensive. But tell me in there where, I mean, for crying out loud, a gal in San Francisco just got executed by an immigrant that had been deported 5 different times. And I'm sure that it doesn't happen right and left, but the bottom line is you know, the Mexican cartels are up here. There's all kinds of violence south of the border.
Yeah, south of the border.
And it's carrying over into Arizona and Texas.
Some of it carries up, but here's the thing that you just said it. You just answered your own question. You said, I don't think that, or I don't know that that's like happening all the time. It's this painting with this broad brush thing. Mexican immigrants in general are not going out and raping and killing people. And basically what he said the same thing in worse terminology than that Steve King said. Steve King said that basically made the point that every person running over the...
And Steve King got reelected in a landslide.
Well...
And the bottom line is...
I used to live up there. I know why.
Yeah. And I will tell you, when I made my slip up back in 2010...
Yep.
I couldn't tell you the amount of outpouring, people sending me money. That was my greatest fundraising thing ever. And it was all over a mistaken slip of the tongue. And the same thing's happening with Donald Trump. The bottom line is when you start calling illegal immigrants undocumented citizens, that indicates they're citizens of the United States. They're not. They're not.
No one says that. We call them undocumented workers.
Well,
no one's calling them citizens.
And don't get me wrong. I've called and you have called for reform of the system.
Yep.
So but the bottom line is I think Donald at least is up there going, well, hold on, we need to reform the system as well. He just didn't take off. He didn't say it the way he should.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to reform the system. He wants them out. He said that too. Well, not in so many words, but basically.
Well, but he's hiring a bunch of them. You know.
I mean,
but I don't see how this hurts
he's
him.
the first hypocrite in politics.
Oh my God,
that would be crazy. That would be like watching a unicorn fart out a rainbow.
Yes. Well, you know, we've watched that several times.
Oh, you get better stuff than I do, sir.
Well, it's on the YouTube. It's got a YouTube channel. You know, it's right next to ours.
Really?
Isn't it, Maddie?
Unicorn.
The farting unicorn channel is right next to our YouTube channel.
That's I did not know that.
So you're going to be entertained either way. So the bottom line is you know the Republicans are doing what Republicans do. Somebody says something wrong, they all jump on him and go, "Oh, he's bad." You can, I mean, honest to goodness, you see somebody on the left say something awful, everybody goes, "Well, at least he said he was sorry." You know, or they come up with some other excuse to have it. But the bottom line is, I don't think this statement is going to cost him much support.
Well, no,
and I don't think he's going to win. I don't even think he's going to place well. But I think he's much more serious.
He lost a bunch of money. He got fired from The Apprentice for it.
Yeah, but Reels picked all that stuff right back up.
But also he goes after the other candidates, calling them clowns and stuff. I mean. No one's going to touch him with a 10-foot pole. No one's going to touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Well, now here's some statistics that Jason sent, and you know he's pretty reliable. I mean, he hasn't led me astray yet. 75% of the most wanted criminals in Phoenix and Albuquerque are illegal. 1/4 of all inmates in California jails are Mexican citizens. 40% of Arizona jails and 48% of New Mexico. Well, that's a significant portion. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you have to face it. Crime has gone up in our southern states quite a bit over the last 15 years. You know, gun violence has gone up, and you know, I think that there is a relationship between illegal immigration and crime. And you know, my personal thing is human trafficking. You know how I get all bent out of shape about mm-hmm. that stuff, especially with my orphan work. The bottom line is what illegal immigration does is it encourages slavery. We talked about that. Didn't we talk about that last week?
Well, we talk about capitalism as encouraging slavery.
Well, so does illegal immigration.
Well, it's sort of one leads into the other.
Okay. Well,
we want the cheapest goods the cheapest goods most efficiently as possible. The best way for companies to do that is to get cheap labor. The best way to get cheap labor is to encourage illegal immigration or slavery. Well,
yeah, that makes sense. But the bottom line is that isn't really what happens here. If you want to talk about, illegal immigration, what happens? They come over here, they become slaves. It's not necessarily due to capitalism, but it is due to criminology. We can debate whether it's related to.
I want my tomatoes 50 cents a piece. The only possible way to get tomatoes that cheap is to basically enslave these seasonal migrant workers, pay them hardly anything, and get cheap goods that way.
So do you think, and that's a question from my brother Joe.
Capitalistic to me.
For the question from my brother Joe, and he got about 10 seconds to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Mexico is sending its best and brightest when they come over illegally?
I don't think Mexico's sending anybody. I think people are trying to get out of a bad situation. To imply that it's a government program I don't think that your brother Joe has any evidence of that.
All right. Well, we have to take a break. We'll be back right after this. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosian Associates at BertrosianAssociates.com, Labinas Law Firm at LaBinasLawFirm.com, Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestRates.com, Des Moines Anesthesia PC at 515-574-6442. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and go check out Lefty's new blog on DocandLefty.com. We'll be back right after this break.